been honoured with a state banquet given by Queen Elizabeth II. It wasn't the Midas-like display of George IV's gold and silver tableware collection, or the quality of the Echezeaux Grand Cru 1990 Romane Conti, which had made this such an exceptional occasion. It was the rapport he had formed with a host who could talk with such authority about so many of his predecessors. Obama had been enjoying himself so much that the Queen had eventually taken the Chancellor of the Exchequer to one side to ask if he might, very discreetly, let the President know that it was bedtime. "I just said yes, ma'am," George Osborne recalls. "I could see Obama with a drink in his hand, and I was thinking, what do I do? I couldn't just interrupt and say, 'Oh, the Queen wants you to go to bed.'" Fortunately, he was saved by the Queen's private secretary, who gently nudged proceedings to a close. Still buzzing, the President summoned his two closest aides for a modest after-party in the Belgian suite, where the Queen accommodates her state visitors. There was work to do. The following day, Obama would become the first US president in history to address both houses of Parliament in the exalted setting of Westminster Hall. While the First Lady was getting ready for bed in the Orléans bedroom, the President and his advisers sat in the sitting room, known as the 18th Century Room, adding some final touches to the big speech. Obama wanted to offer a broad defence of Western values, his senior aide and chief speechwriter, Ben Rhodes, recorded afterwards. But first he, like anyone who has just had dinner at Buckingham Palace, wanted to talk about his evening. Above all, the President wanted to talk about his host. "I really love the Queen," Obama mused. "She's just like Toot, my grandmother. Courteous, straightforward, all about what she thinks. She doesn't suffer fools." At which point, there was an interruption. It was a palace butler bringing news of an intruder. "Mr. President, pardon me," whispered the man in the tailcoat. "There's a mouse." Without blinking, the President replied, "Don't tell the First Lady." The butler assured him that all would be done to catch the unwanted guest. "Just don't tell the First Lady," Obama repeated. As Rhodes recalls, he didn't care except for the fact that Michelle Obama was terrified of mice. In fact, the mouse hunt only added to the sumptuously surreal atmosphere. "Maybe it really is a dying empire," Rhodes suggested. Obama disagreed. "No, they've still got a lot going on. Did you see the bling on the Queen?" As he surveyed the walls of the 18th Century Room, taking in Gainsborough's Diana and Actaeon, a couple of Canalettos, and Zoffany's portrait of America's old foe, George III, the permanence of monarchy versus the fleeting nature of 21st century politics started to sink in. "I'm just a few years away from being in the state Senate," the President joked, "and living in a condo." Looking back a decade later, Rhodes remembers another amusing detail from the Obamas' stay at Buckingham Palace. It was the only presidential guest quarters the couple ever encountered anywhere in the world without an ensuite bathroom. There was just an Edwardian toilet in a compartment off the bedroom. Thanks to the antiquated layout of the palace, state visitors were expected to nip across the corridor to clean their teeth in a bathroom which, owing to its vintage, contained a bath but no shower. "It didn't bother him," says Rhodes, "but he said, 'It's kind of weird, it's over there.'" Bundled off to bed early, in a house with vermin and a walk to the bathroom, Obama might have been forgiven for viewing his stay at the palace as something of a disappointment. In fact, the experience reinforced his regard for one of the most impressive world leaders he encountered in his entire presidency. The two heads of state had first been introduced 2 years before, when the Queen and Michelle Obama bonded over a chat about sore feet and long receptions. "Just two tired ladies oppressed by our shoes," as the First Lady put it later. That was the first of many meetings. Michelle Obama would write fondly in her memoirs of "our friend the Queen," the woman who reminded Barack of his no-nonsense grandmother, and who taught the First Lady a lesson for life. "Over the course of many visits, she showed me that humanity is more important than protocol or formality." The President felt the same. They developed a real affinity. He saw how much the Queen went